mysterious radio signal pulsing with constant regularity.
Voyager 2 probe, the sun's protective bubble, which is called the heliosphere. The probe's been in space.
It began with a signal, one that had eluded the grasp of human comprehension for nearly half a century. Voyager 2, humanity's farthest flung emissary to the stars, transmitted something entirely unexpected. The transmission wasn't loud or sensational in any conventional sense. There was no cinematic flash or thunderous rupture of communication. Instead, it was a whisper, delicate, layered, and filled with encoded complexity that brought the scientific world to a halt. The spacecraft, which had been steadily and reliably sending back information from the edge of interstellar space since 1977, had released a data stream unlike any it had ever produced. Its structure was unfamiliar, its timing peculiar, and its implications immediate and staggering. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. For decades, Voyager 2 has been a symbol of human persistence and curiosity. Its golden record a testament to our yearning to be known. The probe had weathered the chill of the void and the radiation storms of deep space. It had passed the planets, entered the heliopause, and drifted into a realm untouched by the solar wind. And just as it seemed destined to fade silently into the black, it spoke, but not in the language of telemetry or spectral analysis. This was something else. An unprecedented burst of patterned information that left researchers around the world frozen at their terminals, staring into a kind of mathematical poetry that defied categorization. At first, the transmission was thought to be a glitch, some final convulsion of aging hardware spitting out corrupted code. But that assumption dissolved quickly under scrutiny. Engineers at NASA's Deep Space Network traced the packet's trajectory, checked timestamps, corroborated data streams, and confirmed the message's origin beyond doubt. Voyager 2 had sent something deliberate. The frequency was subtly shifted, the modulation unique. The structure of the signal was recursive, almost self-aware in how it folded and unfolded data. It was not just information. It was information arranged with intent. The content itself wasn't immediately decipherable. However, within the lattice of data, repeating mathematical constants emerged. Pi, the golden ratio, prime sequences, elements universally recognized across cultures and presumably across civilizations. This was not noise. This was a message. And for the first time since Voyager 2 left the influence of Earth's orbit, it had sent something that felt less like a report and more like a communication. The effect was immediate and far-reaching. Every antenna array capable of catching Voyager's frequency was turned toward the probe. Data analysts, cryptographers, mathematicians, astrophysicists, linguists all began poring over the packet. But this wasn't just a scientific anomaly, this was a global event. Governments called emergency sessions. Space agencies entered closed-door meetings. For the first time in living memory, international lines blurred. The divisions between science, politics, and philosophy vanished, if only momentarily, as humanity turned its collective attention to the cosmos. The signal wasn't continuous. It came in two parts. The first lasted 21 minutes, a string of densely packed binary code that defied compression algorithms and hinted at multidimensional data encoding. The second part followed 7 hours later, this time a far more compact burst, no more than 30 seconds long. That final burst did something extraordinary. It triggered a synchronized resonance across several deep space listening posts. Instruments in Australia, Spain, and California registered an identical harmonics anomaly, a vibration not in the equipment, but in the very fabric of the signal itself. It was as if the message had been designed to be felt as much as decoded, even without complete translation. There was something unsettlingly intentional in the rhythm and silence between the bursts. It was orchestrated, like a cosmic overture. It was not simply a call, it was a performance. This idea sent tremors through the scientific community. Voyager 2 was not equipped with artificial intelligence capable of self-modifying its transmissions. It couldn't have developed autonomy spontaneously. Every piece of its hardware, every line of its software, was born in the 1970s. So where then had this come from? The most tantalizing theory emerged almost reluctantly. Whispered first in late-night lab meetings before gaining traction in public discourse, Voyager the 2nd of May have been touched. Not by cosmic rays or mechanical failure, but by someone outside of Earth. The timing aligned too neatly with the probe's position relative to several unexplored interstellar anomalies. It had recently passed through a patch of space where the density of interstellar plasma had sharply deviated from the expected model. Something had happened out there, something not accounted for by any known astrophysical phenomenon. That region of space, once thought to be inert and uneventful, was now at the center of a frenzy of activity. Archived data was re-examined. Anomalies previously dismissed as background radiation or sensor drift were reconsidered in the new light. The possibility that Voyager 2 had encountered something, an interstellar construct, a form of intelligence, or an unknown energy structure, became more plausible with each passing hour. And if that were the case, the signal it had sent was not its own but rather a relay, a response, or worse, an invitation. For days, Earth listened. The skies were silent. Voyager 2, now nearly 22 billion kilometers away, returned to its regular heartbeat. The extraordinary signal was a singularity, one pulse, one moment in time. But that singularity was enough to rupture the assumptions under which all previous space exploration had operated. This was not like the WOW signal or distant fast radio bursts. This had a source we could name and a vector we could track. It was Voyager, and something had spoken through it. The psychological impact on those closest to the data was profound. Many reported a sense of emotional dissonance, an eerie awareness that they were no longer merely observers of the cosmos, but participants in it. Institutions that had traditionally kept their findings confidential suddenly became reluctant to withhold information. The weight of secrecy seemed incompatible with the scale of the event. For once, the universe didn't seem indifferent. It seemed watching, and perhaps listening. If Voyager 2 had been used as a medium, then the implications stretched far beyond the event itself. The probe had become a vector not just of human ambition, but of contact. The idea that it might have passed through a region inhabited or influenced by something other than physical forces expanded every model of interstellar behavior. The silence of space had always been a comfort to some, a vast, unknowable void in which humanity could project its hopes and fears without reply. But that silence was now broken, and what replaced it was not loud, but profound. A whisper that carried the weight of recognition. Conversations began to shift. The word transcendent crept into scientific discussions. Protocols drafted in theoretical contingency plans decades earlier were dusted off and re-examined. If this transmission was a prelude to something larger, whether a form of dialogue or a demonstration of capability, then humanity stood at the edge of a paradigm it was unprepared to define. What had started as a mechanical journey across the solar system was now a philosophical odyssey reaching beyond known dimensions. The transmission's architecture itself became a new field of study. There were patterns within patterns suggesting not just intelligence but perhaps levels of awareness operating beyond linear time. Temporal signatures in the modulation hinted at non-sequential data structures, information possibly embedded with layers designed to unlock only under specific contextual or cognitive conditions. It was as if the message required not just comprehension but evolution, as if only a changed mind could truly see it. Voyager 2 had been designed to last but not to change. And yet, here it was, altered, not physically, but behaviorally. Some wondered whether its systems had been rewritten, remotely, or through some exotic method of influence. Others speculated about quantum entanglement or information fields that existed outside our current understanding of physics. The idea that knowledge could be transferred without medium, or that awareness could be embedded in code, became less science fiction and more speculative science. The space probe, which had quietly traversed the boundary between solar influence and galactic drift, had suddenly become a symbol of something far greater. It was a mirror held up to Earth's expectations of its place in the universe. The moment the transmission ended, the world didn't return to normal. It paused, staggered by the reality that something had happened, and that something may still be watching, waiting, listening, or all of the above. To the scientific institutions charged with decoding the signal, the work became a kind of sacred task. Yet no one pretended they had the keys to unlock it entirely. There was a growing realization that understanding this event might require more than code breakers and algorithms. It might demand a convergence of disciplines: philosophy, art, emotion, logic, intuition. Some even began to believe that the message was meant not to be solved, but to be experienced. That its impact lay not in its literal content, but in its catalytic effect on human consciousness. It was not lost on anyone that the signal had arrived during a moment of technological and social chaos on Earth. That Voyager 2 had spoken just as humanity stood at crossroads, environmentally, politically, and existentially, was interpreted by many as a form of cosmic timing. The question that echoed louder than any theory or interpretation was brutally simple. Why now? There was no answer, at least not yet, but the event changed the baseline. It redefined the boundary between what was thought possible and what could no longer be ignored. It reminded Earth that its quest for meaning among the stars had always carried a reciprocal risk, that one day the stars might answer back. And when they did, they might not shout, they might whisper, through an old machine forgotten by most, drifting alone in the void, until suddenly it wasn't. Voyager 2's transmission didn't offer explanations. It offered a challenge, a puzzle not just of symbols and numbers, but of perception itself. It asked humanity whether it was ready, not just to explore, but to be seen. Not just to discover, but to be known. And that kind of readiness isn't achieved through technology or force. It's cultivated in the quiet spaces between awe and humility, between what is understood and what is accepted. The world didn't stop because of panic or fear. It stopped because of stillness, a moment of collective breath, held in the shadow of something larger, something that didn't demand belief or denial, only attention. And perhaps that was the first step in a new kind of dialogue, one born not of language, but of awareness. Voyager 2 had drifted far beyond Earth's gravity, but it had never left the gravity of our hopes. That a probe built by hands now long gone could carry a message from the unknown was more than poetic. It was instructive. The universe, in all its silence, had whispered back, and everything changed the moment it did. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on Voyager 2's hidden transmission suddenly stopping the world? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.